And there we go. I picked the live button. And are we live? I think we're live. Oh, now we're live. All right. Hi, everybody. We're back. We're live.
Happy Valentines to your meaningful significant other, Stuart, because I would never wish you happy, because that's weird, because you're my friend, you're not my love friend. So.
Happy Valentine's Day, Samuel. Hope you have a good day
Okay,
and a
thanks.
good weekend with Marie.
Yes! Obviously, I'm here, not there, so. Neither of us are. I mean, plenty of your day left, of course. Are you thingsing after?
Not so much. Not today. I find that the day of is always bad. You can't go out because everybody has the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sylvia got me some goodies this morning when I woke up, and you know, but yeah, I don't know what the plan is necessarily, but we don't usually do Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day. We'll give each other a few little things, but that's it. If we want to go out and celebrate, it's afterwards.
And it's one of those things that, your own schedule won't necessarily allow the day to be meaningful. So plan the time next to it that you can make meaningful. And so, yeah, we've taken Monday off. I'm going on Friday night, so I'll be there for, because I'm not an early morning person, so me traveling, I can't really get there at a certain time, but obviously if I'm already there, then I can get up early, etc.
Yeah.
Etc.
So, what's everybody else doing for Valentine's Day? Let us know in the chat, guys.
All weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Trek love stories. Slightly out of our repertoire.
Well, yeah, we're just going to talk about. Somebody had mentioned it earlier in another live to do the best romances. It's not going to be a tiered list or anything. It's just a discussion, but we want to have some. There's some funny ones as well, like as you see with the poll. I chose some odd ones, but
they're also
Olivia,
romances. So
I know. Olivia throws in $2. Stuart and Sam, the best couple. I mean, that's a fact, right?
And by best, she means odd.
Well, we are an odd couple, but we're also the best odd couple, maybe.
I mean, I think we probably are the best English Canadian Star Trek YouTube co-pairing duo Star Trek web creator set out there. I think that's hard to deny.
Those things. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be too specific, I think, but in those mildly specific realms, I think we are probably the best in the world.
I also think that we might be the worst, because I also think that we're the only one of that kind of pairing. So we're the best, the worst, and just average overall. Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Canadian British Star Trek team.
Said, yeah. Oh goody! So we have all of the awards. That's always nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start sharing.
This is gonna be it. Okay, go for it. Yes, please do. And I'm going to tell everybody to hit that like button. We have 22 of you here and 9 likes. Let's get those likes up. This episode or this live is going to be kind of led by you guys. We want to hear your pairings. We got some great ones already from Trek or Not and stuff. But we're going to talk about the best and the worst, just relationships in general in Star Trek today, because it is Valentine's Day and not everybody has plans necessarily. So we figured we'd come on here and spend some time with you guys to give you guys, the attention that you might need or require on Valentine's Day. Isn't that so nice of us? It's amazing. So hit the like button, click the join button down there, check out the options to join the channel, or head on over to Patreon/Trekyards. You can join over there also. We would really appreciate that. If any help you can offer is greatly appreciated. Just hitting that like button is a big deal. So hit that like button, and don't forget to super chat in. We want to hear your thoughts and your couples that you'd like us to talk about and during this live. So lots of ways to help support us. You can also click the links down below. There's links to the Teespring and the TeePublic store where you can show your love for Trekyards by buying some cool Trekyards merch. We would really appreciate that also. So lots of ways to help us and support the channel, but just being here and joining the conversation is a big deal. So please consider doing that. And we hope to have some good conversations here today. Terrence Child says, I agree, you guys are pretty good together. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Funniest is Julian and Garrick. Yeah. And Olivia throws in $5 again. Sam, That's you. Has anyone told you that you look nice today? No, I didn't think so either.
So true. But
so mean to Sam.
But Maria has a lovely habit of wishing the anniversary of things right after the clock strikes. And often I'm obviously in the middle of something, because it's still the day before. I'm like, oh yeah, back to you.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite there yet. Especially if my day's going until 4 a.m. Of course, the 4 a.m. is significantly after 12 p.m. or whatever it is. So it's like, yep, it's still a while for me until it's tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'd kind of lapsed a little bit on Valentine's Day coming up because there's a lot going on over here with the dogs, the surgery, the computer dying. Like, there's been a whole... Seriously. So last night, I went up to Sylvia's office because I kind of realized that tomorrow was Valentine's Day, or today. And I plastered her desk with, like, little notes like, I love you, happy Valentine's Day, hearts, all that kind of stuff. And just to surprise her in the morning. So it was one of those situations. Little thing, but she enjoyed it. So
I dig it. Yeah. We got some mild plans the weekend, because last weekend we went to see Marie's sister in Southend, which we got rained on heavily, and the girls stepped in puddles. I'm good, not so in puddles. I guess I got more, spatial awareness. So they complained the entire time about having wet shoes, except Lucy's girlfriend, who had big heel boot things on that were waterproof. So we were both like, me avoiding, she's walking through. It was quite a fun, like, haha, it's raining, but also our feet are fine. And then as a treat, I had a Taco Bell, because there is a few in the UK, but they're not in most places. So it's like, I get to have a treat of the shittiest Mexican food ever, but it's charming. So that was my treat. I got us Taco Bell this weekend.
Yeah, I like Taco Bell. And Charlotte Hammond says the graphic is hilarious. Well done. Well, we can thank our awesome, one of our graphic people, at least Matt Boardman, for doing that up. I wanted something fun for Valentine's Day, and he did. He really kind of, did it.
Yes, the many girlfriends of Worf, which you got to think about for a second when you I mean, he would probably be a merry man if they all came out at the same time. Or that might not still be enough, because he is, of course, not a merry man most of the time.
Yeah.
So then, Stuart, in the tapestry of the Star Treks, who do you think of straight away when you think of the love story of Trek? Who springs to your mind?
You kind of nailed it earlier with our discussion that we had earlier today. Kirk and the Enterprise, of course. That is the most epic of love stories right there. And you can't get much better than that. But if you mean actually people...
I do.
Honestly, the first one that comes to mind is Worf and Jadzia. But then you start thinking about it and realize how many there are. Like Paris and B'Elanna, Keiko and O'Brien, for better or worse. So yeah, there's a lot that pop into your head when you start thinking about it. But if I was asked the question, I think the initial reaction would be Worf and Jadzia. How about you? Which one pops into your head instantly?
I was trying to think what the second one was, but the question is what the first. The first one, it doesn't make sense, but it did, was Kirk, Rathakan, and Marcus.
Wow.
Which is an odd one, but because it's so thematically important, right? Unlike a lot of the other romances, which come, go, last a season, do not. That redefined Kirk in that movie. Marcus redefined later on in Defined Star at 6. Like, that's such a poignant thing. And also, also this statement of, they might have loved deeply and truly, but your passion can be other things and work can take you. So that was the first one, right? Now, if you look, obviously, chronology, that might have been one of the first actual love stories anyway, because of course it was Star Trek 2, we hadn't had everything else yet. Is that weird? Why do you think I went there? Because I'm just being honest with what I thought.
That is weird. I mean, it could be because it's a major linchpin of that story, and also because as a result they have David Marcus, who also plays a big part, and that even his death even his death pushes Kirk to, do things, right? Like it's very thematically important. I think that's why you would jump there, but it wouldn't be my first thought at all. I've been thinking about it all afternoon, and that one actually never even came to my mind.
I don't blame you.
Kind of funny and sad.
Well, yeah, it intrigued me. I actually really appreciate Lisa, B'Elanna, and Tom, because that is not what you think of, I would think, too much, because it works so well. It's a subplot, but like a 4-year subplot that just sort of ticks along gently, plays a part when it needs to, doesn't play a part when it doesn't need to. It feels very real. I'm thinking back like, oh yeah, because they worked. Like there wasn't well, they won't. They once they committed. There wasn't bullshit drama. It was just a nice. There was drama in other scenes, but you think of Dax and Worf death. You think of Ezri and Worf weird Trill cheating. You think of Troi and Worf weird. Like everything has a weird connotation. But those two, it just works in the grand scheme, right? Without breaking down per season, they don't even consider it because it just sort of works.
Let's not forget the salamander love affair. Come on now. They had offspring as well.
Salamander love is true love. That's what they say.
Ray Ricks, member for 23 months at the rank of Admiral. Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you.
Best relationship is disco and good story writing. That's like the worst relationship ever. That's even a worse relationship than Worf and Alexander's parenting thing.
Although you say that, but Book and Burnham, there you go, pretty damn decent. I'm sure we'll get there. And even if you want to go off Discovery, Discovery falling in love with random future man who's no longer future man because he's now the present of their future, so he's now a future present man who they're going to ignore. Like that was also, you felt something oddly real from the computer. So that actually would, that was a literal whatever.
What about Book and Grudge?
Sure.
His queen, my queen.
Oh. Yep.
Sean O'Sullivan, though, €2. 2 penny. I know. Yeah, they don't though. It means Worf needs 2 women at least. He doesn't have 2.
Can I reverse his super chat? Can I unlike it? Can I?
Yeah, I unlike it. Just let's delete it from existence.
So I'll like it, then you can unlike it. Okay. I liked it, and they can unlike it. I assume you can unlike it, unless I just gave them the power of like.
Yep, I just.
There we go.
Nuked it.
Let's do it. You unliked it.
Yep. Ray Ricks, £5.
Hi, Ray.
Worf and Jadzia was good, but for me, the one that always comes to mind is Riker and Troi. Also, the worst is Worf and Troi. Interesting triangle. Yeah, Riker and Imzadi, which sadly was a ripoff of Will Decker and Ilea, because it was the same story, just regurgitated in TNG form. Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, but it was trash in TMP.
That's true.
I mean,
that was going to be part of Phase 2, and it never got developed because it was shoved into the movie. So it's a rip-off
from their own show, and then they ripped it off into their own movie, and they ripped it off into TNG. Well, I mean, let's talk about then Riker and Troi, because, The Next Generation, it was very intentionally the second show, the bouncing off board, hopefully relaunch. It did. It's going to be universally iconic for that. It relaunched everything that came after it. And they set up episode 1 with this very intentional, we had a thing vibe. In season 1, they both were young, both Troi and Riker. They lose that youthful look quite quickly, but they feel like young lovers. By season 4, Riker feels bigger, heavier, beardy, and middle-aged. It's odd that shift was pretty instant. Troi evolves as she does. I don't think I can ask this question with any seriousness, but I'll give it a basic go. Did you ever think at the first run of TNG, watch it for the first time, ever actively think they should be together? Was that in your mind? It's difficult to think, with post-Trek, with the movies, what we do and don't know, but did you ever root for them in an active way?
Nope. No, I was too young at the time to really care. And the love aspect of a lot of things in these kind of shows just annoy me, generally.
Yep.
But looking back on it, the way they long played that, where they both had relationships along the 7 years and they were still there for each other, and even with this the Outcast that we just watched, where he had feelings for somebody, and Troy still gave him a kiss and said, "Of course we'll be friends." It's actually very well played out, and the fact that they end up being together, married, I think is fantastic. Like, that's the long game done very well, and it shows a complex relationship that's not childish. Yeah, it's not childish. It's not, jealousy abounding and just a whole bunch of issues during the course of 7 years. It was a very mature relationship that became a friendship and then back to being a romantic thing. And I think it stands the test of time in that regard. So it's actually probably the best of all of Star Trek relationships for that reason, to be fair.
And it's
and Riker, going back to my other statement, Riker doesn't self-destruct Deanna and crash her into a planet. So Kirk and the Enterprise is great, but
true, fair. Yeah, it's such a commitment in season 1 to make that, their first meeting, the first bit of non-expositional dialogue is them as a relationship element with the psychic connection. It's so visceral that it's amazing how quickly they visibly abandoned it, and then we appreciated, after Nemesis, I believe they did interviews just with them, two of them, as they were pitching a show to do them off in the future, and then they're always such a pair for, I think when you're told from day one that you're going to be tied to this other actor as a love interest, you don't know where it's going to go. You're going to form some sort of bond anyway, and they also kept that very strong. And I loved an interview, I don't remember when, but Frakes had said that even though the show started to forget that we were a couple, and a pretty significant couple, back in the day, and different directors came in who didn't know, they didn't, it's not as irrelevant, and obviously they each gained multiple love interests, etc., that they said that they together made a pact to always play any scene that was relevant with a hint of we still have feelings for each other, we were in a relationship. Even if the director is telling you to go after this random Extrovian, then they would add something in the back of their mind to add a little look or something, just to kind of keep the subtext going through years and years and years, where the people making it were forgetting and not using, and then obviously moving past it, but they really wanted that little bit of legacy throughout. So they kept it in their hearts, and I'm sure when Worf became impossible, it became a bit odd. Where'd you go from there? But the fact they felt that strongly enough to keep that as a thematic point in subtext, that says a lot about what they thought. They thought they, at least meant so much to each other that it would continue to play a part. You might not ever get back together or be together, but you probably meant enough to somebody to stay in their mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I love that the actors decided to do that as well. Because, yeah, you're right. You get writers coming in all the time that might not know that, or the director definitely doesn't know that. And it's woven and seeded all throughout the entire. And it would be great to go back and look at all the examples of that, when they just have scenes together, and see how well it plays out, actually. So, yeah, I love that the actors made that pact to do that, because it makes perfect sense. That's what our character information was when we started this show, so we're going to keep that going. I think that's wonderful. Now, Adam Wozniak puts in 10
plun.
Not sure what that is.
10 plun. Plokun. Plun. Polish. £2 UK. Thank you.
Nice. And he says, Rom and Lita, it just works on so many levels. It's a Beauty and the Beast type deal. But no, like, Rom is a good-hearted person. So is Lita. And yeah, that's another good relationship as well, which ended in marriage. So that's good too. So yeah, there's been so many over the years, and I made in the poll, I've made some jokes there, like Beverly and the Lantern Ghost. And Ensign Kim and the Delaney sisters, a love never actually realized. You could have had the twins.
At least we got to meet them. Once, I believe. Don't know why that wasn't a bigger running gag. Like, you mentioned them at least 10 times.
Yep.
Could utilize them a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so there's lots of relationships to talk about, and I think we've kind of nailed it there with the Imzadi thing, Riker and Troi, that long game. I think that was the one that should pop into everybody's mind.
But the fact that it was forgotten through how many episodes of TNG? Let's say 250. It was forgotten for 180 of them, right? One of those many continuity things that was ignored. So then when it comes up again, like we just saw, as you said a minute ago, it's like, oh, this feels so groundedly additional. Then you get the Worf stuff, and I remember actively being confused by Worf and Deanna, not because they might not work, but because she clearly works so well with Riker, and Worf he's not unlovable, but he's not a conventional relationship kind of guy, and I always felt like Troi was more of a conventional lady in a good way. Like, you know, he'd be quite a struggle to be with without that real extra, and Troy's quite calm and chill, and he is not those things, nor sexual chemistry either. Like, you know, friends for 6 years, suddenly it's like, where did that come from? But it was obviously like running out of ideas, let's just move around. It's like, oh gosh, what was the show where everyone dated everybody by the end? Oh, Friends. Yeah, like everybody tries with everybody because they just ran out of stories. It's like, yeah, let's put Joey and Phoebe for one episode. It's like, okay. Ross and... Okay. Whatever. But then, of course, you get Insurrection, which is, a huge part of it is just to get them back together. With a huge subtext in First Contact, right? It's only in a few moments, but it's pretty like, yep, you fancy this girl still, there's still some stuff here. But he was, although of course if Frakes has directed the scenes, he's allowed to direct himself to be a bit more flirty. So does that mean he directed himself in a bath with Marina? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Never thought that before.
Gregory Forelli, $5.
Okay.
Best is Odo and Kira. Worst is Neelix and Kes.
Ooh. Well, let's go for Neelix and Kes first. What are your thoughts on Neelix and Kes? And remind the audience why it might be a slightly different relationship. Remind the audience.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, first of all. Just because Kes had a lifespan of 9 years, so if she was only like 2 or 3 years old, everybody's calling Neelix a pet. I can't really say the word on YouTube just because it's a bad idea, but it's worrisome to me because that's not how, like, her lifespan, her age was equivalent to like 30, late 20s, early 30s, right? So it wasn't a problem. But yeah, the jealousy issues that came up with that one were quite intriguing, where Neelix had severe jealousy issues when it came to Tom Paris, and that played out for a while at least. It was quite interesting that they went that route, but trying to add that drama to the show, I think it worked out all right. But yeah, it's not a great relationship. It's not a healthy relationship. It's one that you see the interactions between them, and it's not healthy. Like, Neelix was codependent, very jealous, and it kind of, I'm glad it got resolved. Like, I'm glad that was kind of moved on with, but it was interesting to see a dysfunctional relationship like that kind of play out. So yeah, I would classify it as one of the worst ideas for a relationship. Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel. There we go. Straight into the.
You ask.
Oh yeah, well indeed. Yeah, it's a funny one because it's. I don't. Obviously, neither of us hate Neelix, right? I'm sure a lot of it comes from people just disliking Neelix, and the fact that Kes was a character who was very, had a very, like Saru, right? Very distinct thing at the start. Probably psychic at some point. Her age will be about the age of the show. She'll have to be old age makeup. From a planet who, all these interesting things are interesting, slowly lost over time because they didn't quite work, evolved like Saru into then medical staff and then psych, whatever. And then obviously it didn't work, so they moved on from her and went to Seven, far more successful character, of course. But where can you go with a character? It's such an odd idea that where do you go from there, right? But dislike either of them. I think there's some very sweet scenes with Kess in general. I think she can do some very good scenes. It's just she's an odd character. It's like Troi. Where do you place her in most stories? You kind of have to either force her in, or say not interesting things, and then you pair her with Neelix with the odd relationship. You don't bring out the best in either of them. I think Neelix became a lot more structured in 5, 6, and 7 when he had really his own identity, his own vibe, and he wasn't trying as hard, unless he was trying to piss off Tuvok, and of course it's very in character. So it's relative, as you say. Like hanging out with a dog that's only 2, but it's not in its own context. It's not. It's 14 or whatever. There's a context between these things, and especially in the Roman era and previously, people weren't living till they were, as an average, people weren't living till they were like 22. So you're having babies at 14 because you had to, because you'd be dead potentially within a few years after that, and then you have to have so that life was different. So of course, Ocampan is thinking about dating when they're 2. Because that's like 20% of their life. It'd be weird if she wasn't in a relationship, because then she'd be 4 and then already past the age of like that's so of course you want to be in a relationship as soon as possible. That by 2, by 3, 4, she'll be dead by 7, right? I'm sure they were going to work out a way of like Doctor Who extending. Obviously, it'll be a plot point at some point, but it seems odd to say she's not underage. She's actually 25% of her life. That's the context that's important. Their life cycle is different.
People don't see that, and I've heard comments to the contrary. It's just like, what is wrong with you?
Because by that logic, no Ocampan can ever date anybody.
Except for another Ocampan, because then it's all right, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know why that's better. They're both children then, by that logic.
I know, right?
Yeah. I think they were saying, I think Kess could have babies by 3. Because it was season 2, they had the weird plot line. She could have got pregnant, but that was enhanced by the alien thing. I think it was by 3.
Yeah.
So it wasn't far off.
Yeah. And Sean O'Sullivan throws in €2 and says, Fuller and Kurtzman. I love Stand. It's smooth. Boo. Oh, my goodness. Now, here's one.
Yes.
That I want your take on. I'm going to ask you before you ask me first.
Damn it. You know how to play this game.
What about your thoughts on Beverly and Picard? That's the will they, won't they that turns into the they never actually do, but there's always that teasing of it. It was kind of always there. Again, like Riker and Troi, totally different context, because he was best friends with Jack Crusher. And then it's there was always a will they, won't they with that. And it's interesting how it played out all the way through to Picard. So what were your thoughts on that relationship?
I mean,
the unrequited love.
Because that is even more complicated in a lot of ways, because they never willed versus Will and Troi, who did will and they weren't they'd. But it was we could. Do you wanna give it a quick go? No, we can't. Certainly there are moments when they play it for all it's worth, and they are scarce beyond belief. It's one of those things where they either don't allude to it at all because they're professional, have the overly friendly subtext, which we just watched in Cause and Effect, which is like that. You can absolutely take that as a little bit of, or just really comfortable friends. But I think we both incite as a slightly, and then sometimes they just like have thoughts for each other. The obviously think of the one they actually shared thoughts, right? There's a scene about John Luke, but it is there in season 1. But then you get all this stuff that is Crusher really is really Picard's son, which is a very interesting plot point, because of course if he is, then Beverly cheats on her husband with Picard, makes him more of a scumbag to make, and that becomes more scummy even if maybe they were destined to be together, etc. See all that complexity. Is it weird to date your best friend's wife? Yes. Especially if you fancied her.
Happens a lot in real life, though. Happens a lot in real life after somebody's like spouse passes away, and a friend's there to comfort them, and they get close. It's happened many, many, many times.
But it's different if you fancied them originally, because then it's almost as if you're waiting for your chance and then death. Because they clearly did. That was clearly the influence.
The fact you never acted on it. even though there was some interest prior, I mean, that's a slippery slope. I mean,
like
the fact that you didn't do anything is kind of important.
Like, it's different if you've got Amber. It's different now. We don't know the context, right? Except the implication Beverly might, Will Wheaton might be the, so that implies may have done something because obviously therefore might have been the kid. But you can think 3 out of your 5 women friends group are cute, right? People objectively good or bad looking to your, like, you can just think that and not think, oh, actually I would like to date them, whatever. So if Picard had thought, my friend Beverly's lovely, she's really cute, but then not, in his head not connected to romantic, then it's different because you're attracted to who you're attracted to, right? But of course, yeah, there were two higher ups in the ship, so there was always that giant barrier, that force field, which was so secure. I would have been shocked if they ever had an episode where they made out. It would have felt really strange,
And they almost did that right off the hop with the Naked Now. That scene in the Ready Room.
Yeah, you could alien it up, fine, absolutely. And maybe they should have done that once, right? Maybe when gosh, well, when it's fake Picard starts singing his shanty, you could have had him walk up to Beverly and just make out with her. Because I think he asked her at dinner in that episode, and she tells he's yeah. So they almost do that. They're very, very close. But if full on gone to make out mode, that would have been certainly pushing it. But they never did.
Yeah.
Wait, did they even kiss? They didn't kiss in Picard, did they?
No.
They've never kissed. Wow.
No, I don't think so.
They made a baby and not 35. They never kissed. Crazy.
It's always funny though that they kind of throw in that implication, or like they always have breakfast together. Does that imply that Beverly got up early to come to the captain's quarters, or that she was there? It's always kind of, it could be both, but you think she just got up early and came before her shift, whatever. But there's always, and that one episode we reviewed, I can't remember which one, but it seemed like the breakfast was a little bit of an odd feel to it, like she had been there all night. I can't remember which one it was now, which episode, but I remember saying that at the time, and you're like, nah, I don't think so. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, we know that it's not an every time thing, because Vash is there one morning and Beverly walks in saying, oh. So clearly there's evidence to not be every day. And certainly, up early is relative, right? If your shift if you're the head of medicine, say my shift's can start at 10, could start at 9, I'll go breakfast with Cap instead. You could be early and only wake up at 8, right? But if Nim lived, because I'm best friends, if Nim lived 3 doors down, I'd invite her to breakfast regularly just to hang out, right? So that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So.
I think we're ignoring the biggest love story in all of Star Trek.
Oh, wait. Okay, I'm ready.
Hugh and Picard.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, close.
Actually, the biggest one in all of Star Trek would be the fans and Star Trek. That's the biggest love story. But
it's kind of like a joke that I shouldn't make. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Hugh was in bed with Picard
and Janeway.
Picard rolled over. Yeah.
And probably Cisco at some point, just for the lols.
But Hugh definitely had a fascination with Picard. Might have been attracted to him in some way. Just saying.
Well, what is Q? When you've lived everything, done everything. I mean, it's hard to comprehend. It's like, what does God do with a starship? What does God need with a short, bald Frenchman? Because he was never a tall man, right? Like,
oh, that's funny. That just gave me an image in my head that I didn't want. Jean-Luc Picard, marital aid.
Oh, no. Well, but it's chemistry, right? They had a chemistry that was palpable. But obviously, it's like with Trek shorts, I'm very keen on having male and female just be friends, because it's to show you can, right? You don't need every couple. Same with every chemistry. You don't need every chemistry to imply romance, because you can just be friends. You can just live in a world where you can get on with people really well, right?
Yeah.
Now,
that was
obviously,
just, of course, a joke thing with Q and Picard thing, just for the record.
Now, that said, Picard and Vash did smash. We know that for a fact. That's actually a true romance. That was a true romance, and Picard got to the further space. He got to transwarp, Stuart. He got to warp 10. He was everywhere all at once, and then he quickly left, as his warp nacelles powered down quickly, spent from the deuterium.
Wow. Wow. Okay, well, on that note, yeah, and it's funny that Vash then went on to kind of hang out with Q, and there was a kind of an implied they're in a relationship, but like a weird omnipotent being,
a pet,
corporeal relationship,
a fun pet, like a dog that you love.
I hope you don't love it that much. Well,
it's like a comp, and it's relative, right? If they're a god being or a human, it's like, oh, yeah.
Wow. And then, of course, there's Dukat loving himself. I mean, that's a great love story as well, because he did love himself very much. He was very narcissistic. Just saying.
But then, of course, his love, quote unquote, for Kira, because that always confuses me to no end when I watch. Not I watch it very often, but I see those scenes. What do you think about that, quote unquote, love story?
See, in his mind, I think that shifts between being a father figure and also wanting to be a lover of sorts. And yeah, exactly. It's the whole narcissist thing. He wants to be all the things to her, and different episodes show different facets of that. It's an obsession, and it's kind of odd and creepy, but that's good because Dukat pulls that off very well. That creepiness.
Mark Alemo, you dog. You crazy dog.
Yeah. It's not healthy. Plus he had her mom. Like, it's weird. It's wow. It's weird. Wow.
I mean, Goldicot's a really odd one, because I feel like, and I was doing some research for DS9 yesterday, in fact, they just threw his character in directions. There's no pointing A to B to C from season 1 to season 7, right? They're just inventing lore for him, inventing craziness as they go. There's no plan. Every season's a new version of him. Like, he's not crazy in season 1. He's not the Messiah in season 1. He's not any of these things. And by the end, he has a creep love for Kira that just absolutely nowhere came from. It's entirely unjustified, except that where they keep pushing him further and further into this weird non-logical arc for him because madness, I guess. And then the thing of the Bajorans, he's such an odd character because they just keep forcing him in directions like, that's okay, I guess. So Kira feels like a radical weirdness because you're doing radical weird things, right?
Yes.
It's like
but I love what they did with Dukat though. Like that character.
It's no sense though. It's just this.
No, but it's so complex and it shows such a weird, like narcissistic mindset. You see kind of his fall from grace, almost like going from normal-ish, evil but normal-ish, to unhinged near the end. I think they did a really good job with that. So,
like, it'd be interesting if they'd known, like, actually planned a plan, and therefore would have led breadcrumbs early on.
The eagle upset
because they didn't. But it'd be interesting how they would play it differently. Because I was just watching part of the episode Defiant, and it's a very sweet moment when this is season 3, so it's still right before the shit kicks off, right? It's still sort of, we're setting up the overall, but we're not there yet. And he's talking to Cisco in a Cardassian facility, which is very rare, and everyone's sort of friendly. And he tells Cisco in an entirely non-bullshit, non-acting way that he's sad for his son. He promised him to go see an amusement park, and he couldn't because of this war thing kicked in, and they had to do a thing. And there's no bullshit, there's no weird, he's not lying, it's entirely sincere, it's wonderfully well played, it's a real moment. And it's like that Gul Dukat is not remotely the guy in season 7, where he's a genuine connection with his kid that he would do anything for, except the bit where he didn't because he had to do work. But like that's not remotely who he's like. It's so sincere and real, you know. He becomes certainly a caricature of himself. Cause it's just, that's such a grounded scene, you know, so simple and nice. So Kira thing's weird. But so is a Bajoran sex cult.
Yes. Yeah.
Weird. But then
now the other thing.
Yes.
The other one that I wish they would have explored, and I know that Andrew Robinson wanted to, was Garak and Bashir, because they give off funky vibes, and I know that Andrew Robinson, who played Garak, wanted to do that. The whole Garak was interested in Bashir thing never happened because of Rick Berman, but it's definitely there. It's very visible, and then they changed the character that he wants to date, Ducat's daughter, which came out of the blue for Andrew Robinson. I wish they would have explored that a little bit better.
I think I class on the station, I totally get it. And also vengeance against your arch enemy, date his daughter. I get it. Exactly. It's super in character. It's weird.
I'm just saying the breadcrumbs that are that relationship between Bashir and Garak are quite interesting, sprinkled throughout. And a lot of people definitely picked up on it and made that a thing. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. I mean, that would have been interesting to see, kind of explored a little bit.
And it's funny
with Bashir not being interested. Bashir's in a totally different mindset as far as that goes. Because Bashir was kind of a horn dog, he was always...
failed horn dog. I mean,
well, yeah,
went after Jadzia for years, and she died, and only to get with her second coming.
Pardon the pun. Wow.
Over there. Yeah, I mean, Garak and Bashir is, I've seen all the episodes, and I don't think there's a romantic vibe there, because especially knowing what they became, Garak's a spy who is injecting himself with I feel good hormones every second, every day just to live. So he's not mentally sane. Every day he's playing a fast just to live, and because he's not in danger besides the standard, he's just sort of having fun with life in a weird, obsessive way. So he's not acting normal. Anyway, so his vibe is going to be weird. And Bashir is a eugenic Superman who is hiding who he is while trying to enjoy where he is. So their vibe's always going to be odd. So I don't see any romantic chemistry because they're just weird people in weird situations doing weird things. And if Garak thinks he's a eugenics person from maybe some whatever, he might go after him. So I would never have said they're a pair because they have such
Just the way you said it, though. Andrew Robinson deliberately played it like that. Because it was kind of implied that he should at first,
but he's a full spy though, so it makes sense without that.
Well, absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. And I love how you said that Bashir's a genetic Superman who's hiding who he is. Essentially, you're saying he's in the closet hiding who he is, which is kind of a funny turn of phrase. So yeah, I think there could have been more potential with that one. But it was quite interesting the way that it played out. And that Andrew Robinson was, in fact, playing it like that is cool to hear.
I just wouldn't ship them. I don't think they'd be a good couple anyway.
I hate the term ship. Goddamn. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, Sean, culture might be quite different.
But yes, relationship. I get it, but I hate the term.
Yeah, I just never got those vibes because they're both weird characters.
I didn't either at first.
But if you look for anything, you could argue that we could probably very easily argue that maybe Sisko wants to get with Curzon Dax, Jadzia Dax, based on how friendly he is. So, well, you're a woman now, let's go at it because of all the looks it gives her. You could look in and see that if you really want to. I wouldn't, but you could. Wouldn't take very much.
Yeah.
That's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Now, did you care about Kira and Jakar?
Nope. Didn't give a flying fuck.
Nope. Me either.
I didn't even care about Kira and Odo, to be honest.
Yeah, that was odd. Talk about that.
It was. It's
because you were there at the time when that was coming out. I wasn't yet. So what was your
Yeah, but I wasn't watching DS9 at the time that was coming out. So.
Okay.
I'd see my history with that. I'd see the same episodes over and over again. They weren't the best episodes, and I was just like, I'm not watching this. Anyway, going back and looking at it, it seems shoehorned in at the end. Like we need to have something for Kira and Odo to do. Why not have them get together as a relationship? I actually found the relationship with Lwaxana and Odo much more complex and interesting. They truly cared for each other. Lwaxana might have had different feelings than Odo at first, but I think Odo kind of fell into that with her. And I care more about that than Odo and Kira. And I don't like the way the whole Kira and Odo thing went, honestly, especially with the way it ended. I don't know.
Like
it seems like last season or two we need something for you guys to do. Let's put you guys together.
What have you not done yet?
Yes.
See, I bought that Odo could fancy Kira because he's known her the longest, and a puppy might like, if she was nice to him a bit more than anyone else, feelings could form that his unique brain is taking his feelings, right? And that's not discounting them as feelings, it's just his species who is, a puddle. Right? They don't do that. Therefore, if you cross some wires, and she's nice to him, and is fine, he can fancy her. But what does Kira get out of dating Odo? Like, they're great friends, they're a great team.
What does Kira get out of dating a shapeshifter? Think about that for a second. Can you imagine the sex that a woman could have with a shapeshifter? No. Does your mind never go there when they're together? I think that all the time. Like, people want to talk about a double-donged Klingon. Holy Christ. What could he do on the fly?
I was thinking more having babies and growing old. All the normal stuff that you really value.
Oh, no. I don't think about that. I think about...
Because all that stuff fades. I'm thinking the long-term stuff, right? Like, part of... oh, gosh. Was it the Doctor? Was it Superman? One of the big characters, I will love you until the day you die, but then I will live on because you will, God, what was the character I'm thinking of? Who has to constantly live with girlfriends. At some point, chooses not to go out with somebody because they keep dying on them because, of course, they marry them and they die after 80 years. And
I'd immediately jump to my thought for that would be Highlander, Connor MacLeod, because he married Heather and she died, and then he. But think about it, because Ray Ricks. Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
Ray Ricks, 2 pounds. Sisko did get with Mir Jadzia, scratched an itch.
I don't remember that.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
I mean,
That would be so weird, though. Somebody you've worked with so closely and have such a respect for, because it's the old man you used to be friends with, and now you're like good co-workers, but you get the exact same person, kind of.
Hi, Jason.
And then you sleep with them, and then it's like, wow. Could you imagine? I don't know. That'd be weird.
I guess things are purple in our universe, or their universe.
Crazy. TY says, I regret tuning in.
Oh, dear.
Sorry.
But like I say, I never bought Kira with the other Bajorans because they always seemed manufactured romances. Doesn't help they're all guest characters who came in to do the love plot, and she was such a strong woman that just having an important man didn't, like, without that personal spark, like kind of Ezri and Bashir have. Like, the characters just kind of have a spark. It's like, oh, that's chemistry of the actors, right? That wasn't necessarily going to happen. It worked great. I'm sure Worf and Jadzia, a similar spark. I don't know if they weren't planning season 3. We'll get them together in 2 years. I don't think that's what happened, right? It just, certainly not Rom and Lita, but again, a spark. I don't sense a spark with any of the men, honestly, any of the men, and Kira, not Odo even. She's not that kind of character, right? Not for lack of she could have that, but you need a very special sort of cast member to resonate with that level of character. I don't know who it would be. I'm interested to find out if they had got one, but none of the ones I ever thought quite worked with Kira. I'm sure every person on the cast wanted a romance subplot at some point because it's something different, right? How many times can you say Shield's down to 10%? Right? Like, and also O'Brien got to do 3 big subplots. 4. You have the husband, the father, the best friend, bromance, and the tech person. That's 4 branches going in. That's a lot to do. So you didn't need that. We had plenty of that.
Yeah. But 30 of you here, 37 likes. That's awesome. Can we get to 50 though? How many of you have not hit the like button? Please do so. Don't forget to super chat in any couples or relationships that you guys want us to talk about. Super chat in. We will discuss it. There's been so many. Some are obscure. Some are not so much. Some are kind of veiled a little bit or stretched out, elongated over the course of many seasons. So let us know your thoughts, guys. Super chat in. Support us in any way you can. We'd appreciate it. Show your love for Trekyards. Love. It's Valentine's Day. Love us.
And we're here for you. To entertain you in this time. I mean, let's look at the poll options as well that you threw at us. So, currently the favourite couple, we'll go in order here. Picard and Lwaxana. Talk to us about your love for Picard and Lwaxana. Why do you think they're such a strong couple, Stuart? Why are you on team these guys?
It's funny. She clearly wanted to get with him for the longest time. He was not into it at all, which I thought was funny. It was an interesting relationship. Put it on there as a joke. That's all I have to say about that. Though?
I mean, what would it take for them to be romantic-y and for that to make sense?
That's a very good question. They come from very different worlds. I don't think that's possible. That being said, a lot of times opposites attract, and the things that the one person has, the other person doesn't have, but that's what makes them work together. Like Sylvia is an extrovert. She loves talking to people. She loves that kind of energy. I'm an introvert. I don't, but me and Sylvia get along fantastically. So the same thing could probably be said about Picard and Lwaxana, but I think Lwaxana is too much of a flirt in general to have any kind of relationship with Picard. I don't think he'd stand for that necessarily.
I don't know if I'd call her a flirt. She just assumes everyone's into her.
Yeah.
So it's not flirting. It's just, let's do it. Or
I'll throw you some breadcrumbs because you're inching me. Obviously, I can see it.
But it must be. I mean, we take for granted that we think she's weird, because she is. But if you include everyone of every species' thoughts, all given time, and everyone's open book to you, I mean, let's be honest, women would not appreciate the ability to walk down a street filled with men and know what they're thinking, if they're in nice outfits, say. They don't want to know that. It'll get annoying so quickly. But it's personal thoughts, right? It's its own thing.
They already get that if they walk down the street in a sexy outfit and the construction workers are whistling at them and guys are walking down with their girlfriends and taking a look. I don't know if
ever has happened in recent memory, but
it's the same kind of thing, though. Women already kind of get that. So Lwaxana being able just to read everybody's minds is kind of the same thing, just not as veiled, you know.
So that's what I mean. It's a hard thing to work with, but also if you know who's into you, then fling yourself with them because lol YOLO, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny then, because then she would know that Picard's not into her, truly not into her, or
that's why it's a challenge.
Or does she sense that he does find her physically attractive, and therefore, if she applies the correct amount of wearing him down, she'll warm him up, which is a miscalculation.
It'd be both. To me, it's just the challenge. Like you
don't
you have thoughts about me? Challenge accepted. I'm going to see what I can do. Because that's what a lot of people play that game. When I first met Sylvia, she was totally into me. I had no interest because I just come out of a relationship. I wasn't looking for anything. And we hung out for a long time. People said, you guys make a great couple. And I'm like, we're not a couple. We're just friends. And for her, it was, I really like this guy. I want to get with him.
It was a gut punch.
And she persevered. And so, yeah, it's a lot of people play, and that's why a lot of cheating happens as well. Like homewreckers. Oh, this guy's married. Gee, this sounds like a challenge. Can I get him to cheat on his wife, or leave his wife for me? I mean, that goes through a lot of people's minds. It's a game that's played. So, yeah,
that's for a Betazoidian who knows everything. If she can sense his gentle attraction for her, and also, I say that with slight jest, but the fact is, if Picard being the man he is, he probably has a really, really good off switch in his head that says, any woman under my command. I won't even think that. Just it's an off switch. He's so seasoned. Beverly the exception.
There's
certain times.
There's even an episode about that where he falls for that one girl that he sends on an away mission and she almost died. And he's like, this is exactly why this doesn't work with you under my command.
So at the very least, I've never discussed this, I never thought this. We're finding new things here. The fact that someone else, as clinical and simple as that sounds, it's an option. He's allowed to think that. Yes, it's one of his subordinates' mum, but, you know, people live at weird ages, right? Most people have kids, therefore, so that's just so therefore he might, and obviously I'm sure Lwaxana, if she sensed the half thought about it, even once, she'd latch onto that, and that's now her mission statement, right? Doesn't need to be an active thought all the time. She's very good at what she does, so she can sense the underlying subtext of an emotion. She's really good at it. So wow.
Let's get to some of the super chat love that's being bestowed upon us this Valentine's Day. Sean O'Sullivan, £2. Molly. Where was my pancake day special? In your kitchen, maybe. I don't know. We didn't do one.
Computer woes, guys. Computer woes. They have been woed.
Yes, and I'm still having them. But hey, I'm dealing. We're here. We're making it work.
You're down to woe factor 6 from woe factor 9.975.
Yes. Ray Ricks, £5.
Thank you.
Romantic, but I think one of the best relationships in Trek is currently Boimler and Mariner. Yes. For a friend relationship, absolutely. Boims and Mariner.
Yeah, because we had the tiniest "Well, they weren't there" in season 1, and we fought against it. I remember we were both like, nah.
Yeah.
But it's really pleasant to see that sort of purely friend thing, but who can make the sorts of smarmy sex jokes with each other because they feel comfortable. It's not going to happen. Therefore, they can make those jokes. But then you have I'm glad I mentioned Lodex, and of course you have Tendi and Rutherford, which is an odd one. They seem to commit and decommit and commit and subtext. Every director's different, right? But who's to say with them?
It's one of those ones where when they did acknowledge it, they got all shy and weird with each other, and then they're like, "No, we're just friends," and then they're back in the Jeffries tube on top of each other. It's one of those not admitting the relationship that they might actually have or form later. But yeah, I kind of like that they're all just friends, like a friend group, as opposed to couples, because I think that might cause the show to be not as fun, So, yeah, it's a tough one. Patrick throws in. Well, no, he's been a member for 11 months at the rank of captain, which is throwing in a lot, so I appreciate that.
Very true.
There are a few good romances and bromances on the show. Favorite bromance for me would be Garrick and Bashir.
Bromance.
My favorite bromance is Bashir and O'Brien. And number one romance has to be Riker and Troi, I think, although Janeway and Paris is worthy of discussion. We've talked about both of those at the end there, at the beginning of this live. So, but yeah, bromance-wise, I think Bashir and O'Brien are probably the best. They hated each other at first, didn't get along, and then they became really good friends. And it kind of reminds, honestly, O'Brien and Bashir remind me of you and I. I'm a lot like O'Brien. You're a lot like Bashir.
I'm
just saying.
We English are Supermen, so this does track.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yes.
And I'm also Irish, and I got a lot of the same character traits as O'Brien, like my sleeves rolled up, pushed up all the time.
Doing the Mariner. It's funny. It's funny. I would more consider, and this is a minimal distinction. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. I would consider O'Brien and Bashir more like brothers than bromance, because it's so antagonistic as well. And that comes from going that step further into more like brothers, where you can just willingly punch each other and be okay with it, right? The bromance I would consider more Kim and Paris, because they aren't quite brother level, but I think they're more bromance.
Who in Paris?
Kim and Paris.
Oh, okay.
because they get on so well. It's like a bromance. Like they can do everything together, no issue. But it's not quite as full on as Bashir and O'Brien.
For me, Kim and Paris are more like best friends, which is different than a bromance, in my opinion.
True.
That's just kind of the vibe that I get. I think Bashir and O'Brien have a legit bromance. I'm just trying to think of any other ones.
Well, I guess when you throw Keiko in, you add in the idea of he's choosing sometimes Bashir over Keiko, which goes into
that's pointed out a few times.
That structurally changes that a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
Because even Keiko makes jokes about it, like you'd rather be with Bashir. You might be a little bit on the you liking Bashir too much scale there, because she's made that joke a few times.
And of course, Bashir slept with Mira Smiley in the Mirror Universe, so he saw his chance, he took it, right? Weird.
Rick's 2 pounds. In that sense, Kirk and Spock as well. But that's more of a working relationship that became very brotherly, I think. I think they're very much like brothers, those two.
Yeah, because you wouldn't say they're best friends.
No.
Because they
wouldn't.
You'd say McCoy and Kirk were close to best friends, but sort of best friend, you don't need to see each other every day, sort of best friends. Like when you get together, it's like best friendness.
See, I don't see Kirk and McCoy as best friends either. Kirk always had a certain detachedness from everybody. I can't see him having a best friend that's in Starfleet. I think he'd have a best friend that he sees.
I'm thinking more TMP. I'm thinking more once he got off the ship. Like the vibe-wise.
Maybe.
But really, they're both brothers, really, just by 5 anyway. They all kind of got the same ranking.
And come on, McCoy and Spock definitely have a brother relationship. They both respect and love each other, don't want to see each other hurt, but they also hate each other and insult each other constantly.
With McCoy being the older brother, right?
Picking up the younger brother. Sure.
Yeah. A very specific brother relationship.
Smarter. The younger, smarter, more,
Gets all the ladies.
Yeah. ISFJ 1009 throws in $10.
Thank you.
Captain Picard and Neela Darren. Definitely my favorite bittersweet. And that's the one we talked about a little while ago. The person that was under his command.
Was she the piano lady?
Yes. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's her name.
Yes. Yeah, she was an odd one because that also felt slightly constructed. Like we want to have a person who he could get with an episode. Therefore they made... It's
for sure.
I assume you've seen How I Met Your Mother.
I have not.
Oh, Jesus, one of the best ones. So when you finally meet the mother, they had, let's say, 6 years of stories to construct who the mother's character is going to be to perfectly fit with our lead, who we've learned to know. So she's, like, so perfect, because, of course, crafted to be perfect. Now, luckily, the actress was fantastic. It felt effortless. But so in a similar vein, you construct a Picard romance to just work, but it felt a bit too constructed for me. She's fine.
Okay, so there was, it was a 1 episode thing. If they built it up over the course of a season, where you see little hints of her and whatever,
if it started a colleague, 100% colleague, and evolved organically from that with zero intent, they knew they'd make it romancy with a dark twist, but they didn't play off to the audience. It's just a lady officer who comes on, stays impressive, and then things evolve. Like even 3 episodes, right? First is standard, second hint, third is what we saw. That could have been really, really great. Oh, the point with single episode stories.
Ozzy throws in $2 and says Spock and McCoy, they mind to mind. They do, they mind meld. That's like telling your brother a big secret, it's one of those things. So yeah.
Pretty much.
And Patrick. 11 euros. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna click the love button. That.
I do agree with you, Captain, that O'Brien and Bashir also have a bromance going, but more like a bit too close of friends. Garrick, however, really goes closer to the romantic side of bromance. Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see that. I can see why you'd say that. There's a difference between a bromance and best friends, I feel. Bromance is, you do a lot more things together. Best friends are like, you haven't seen each other in a long time, and it's just it feels like you never had any time apart when you meet back up. Whereas a bromance is like you always want to be with the person because it's like you feel like a whole person with that person. It's kind of like a marriage, but different. I don't know. That's my take on it anyway. I could be wrong about that.
And I would think a bromance would be when you can add sex jokes in organically, because that takes you over. The best friend doesn't have to do that. You can be a work best friend and just talk football. When you can start making stupid sex jokes, then it becomes, well, now you go into a new realm, not with the other person, but in that conversational realm. Like, you go.
I do sex jokes with everybody, so
yeah, but you're you, right? I mean, it's just, it's like if you go to a bar. I don't know, right? There's yeah.
I think if we lived closer together, we'd have a bromance.
Oh dear.
Sorry, man.
Oh dear.
I'd be over at your place all the time, hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd have played through Halo 4 or 5 times by this point.
Oh hell yeah, Halo, yeah.
I know a group that do the hardest level. So the part of Halo is actually the scale ramp of difficulty, and they do change modifiers, and there's ways of doing even higher than that. It's quite clever in that way. There's things called skulls, which allow you to actually add, and you can control what ones go on and off. They control bonus things like you can't see your gun, and the enemies can't miss. Really ridiculous. Nice. Yeah, and there's one achievement which is everything on the hardest difficulty. So literally the escalation, and if you die once, you got to restart the entire level. Like madness, and people can spend 8 hours on one level. It should take 8 hours to finish the game. That sort of thing, we could spend like 5 days just doing that because we get
for
so
sure,
into it.
Absolutely.
Marie, I'll see you in 5 days. That would suck.
That's the other thing with a bromance. That's the other thing with a bromance is your significant other is like, I'll see you later. I love you and I live with you and all that, but I really want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dan says Trip and to Paul. Might as well get into Enterprise and cover that. That one I think I love the way that they kind of planned that out from Trip's physical therapy, like with the massage and all that, leading to something more. And then it felt very rushed at the end, obviously. Like, let's have a kid. Let's have the kid have issues. All that kind of, but the whole show's rushed at the end.
They had a clone baby.
Well, yes, exactly. But
yeah, I know.
It all felt very rushed at the end, so I don't know if they had that planned. Like, at a certain point, they're like, okay, we got to add this stuff in to make this feel natural relationship-wise. But I think they did a relatively good job with it.
The sad thing about those, and I thoroughly dislike how they ended it. Mostly because, he died. But most people don't like that. They, as actors, didn't have that obvious spark. They had a beautiful intellectual spark that came from growing up as a cast together, that when you got to their connection points, you bought it. And obviously the rationale, T'Pol's now a drug addict who let feelings run wild. It's like, now I think he's hot, let me go bang him, and again and again and again and again. Oh, I better stop now. Oh no, I need to trill him. Like, there's obviously a reason for it, right? But it felt shockingly A to B to C to D, and it's like they could have had something really special there, and dealing with a storyline of actually having them in a relationship of a Vulcan who's now emotionally damaged, dealing with a man-child who's very smart, and a man-child who's in a bromance with Archer, or whatever. That could have been
best friend relationship, those two.
Could have been so wonderful, and I'm so sad they pulled back from that so much, ended it poorly, because I really would love to have known they ended up together. I would have felt such personal, because that's the one I watched live, right? Properly live. I didn't see the start of Voyager live, because, I was 2 or whatever. 5, whatever. But that one I actually saw, and I grew to appreciate them as a duo, and I thought it was really nice. I really wish they had, just because you don't need to kill everybody. You can have a happy togetherness as the final note. I think they would have been quite happy together. He would have been infuriated by her, she by him, but there's deep feelings there that they just kind of had. They weren't expecting as well. And it wasn't even that it came from friends to romance, because they weren't, like, friends is relative, right? Are they friends? I mean, they're work colleagues, right? She's not really friends with anybody except Archer and Phlox. but she thought he was hot. and then they develop from there. So it's a different, very different sort of relationship, and I commend them for it until the end, and I discommend. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, what
absolutely.
do you think? Do you agree? Am I on a similar vein there? What do you think?
I don't know if I agree. I really don't.
Hey,
I would have liked to have seen it end differently for sure. But I think that's just the general consensus with the way that trip ended. But hey,
I thought they were nice together. And got to meet her mum, knowing how meaningful that is.
Yeah.
Meaningful, man. Meaningful.
I honestly didn't care about that relationship. Still don't, but
it's the only one Enterprise though. Which is odd that Hoshi never got, because Hoshi's a cutie.
Oh, she had the Beauty and the Beast episode.
Yeah, she did. She was there for that.
She was. Anyway, Ray Ricks throws in 10 pounds. I mean, the scene that comes to mind are the scenes from the Wrath of Khan. I have been and ever shall be your friend. And in 2009, his line to Kirk about them needing each other to achieve greater things. Well, okay. See, TOS Star Trek as a whole had the trifecta. They had the Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, all different facets of one personality that, when worked together, was unstoppable. JJ kind of fucked that up, I think, immensely. But yeah, we need each other to achieve great things, sure, but that's not necessarily. I think that was a friendship that was forged due to a work relationship. That wasn't you meet somebody and you instantly have a chemistry with them. I'm sure that they didn't feel that way in the first, little time that they worked together. I think being that in that close proximity, being forced to work with somebody, bonded them together, which is a different kind of friendship than like a best friend kind of friendship. It's I need you in my life friendship.
When JJ's so goddamn tricky because of course they have the skip, we know the resolution factor because of TOS, which they're superimposing on their own characters because they know the end, but they've not earned that. And also people like Carl Urban know what they could have, so they kind of play to that. Yeah, that's a confusing one to even talk about, the JJ stuff. But I certainly didn't get bromance, but again, I'm not. People can just be friends. That's okay. But then again, make a future. Bang your friends, right? I mean, it's future.
Wow. Okay. Well.
What's the planet? Haven. Just go to Haven.
Odo and Quark. Yes, they had an interesting relationship too. I'm just trying to describe it. I mean, they become friends over the course of it, but it's very much an antagonistic thing at the beginning.
Do they become friends?
Oh yeah, they become friends. They become friends. Come on,
best enemies.
Well, that was them doing McCoy and Spock, but on a little bit of a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely no romance there at all. So doesn't quite fit with the topic today. Best Trek romances.
That was just funny.
Yeah. Spock and the Romulan commander was an interesting one. Was it though? That just felt forced for the episode, and Spock was just playing along. He wasn't actually interested. He was just trying to pull the wool over her eyes. He's doing his job, is what he's doing.
And that was heartbreaking on a rewatch.
Yeah,
she's actually into him.
That was the first TOS one we reviewed. Haven't done any other TOS ones since. We'll get back to that eventually, but wow.
I mean, TOS is odd because they really either go full on or ignore it entirely. The dichotomy of what can we do now. Hey Kevin, it's the future, man. It's 200 years in the future. What do you think of Oh god. From TOS, I have my own thoughts of Chapel and Spock then.
Oh, good God.
Good reaction.
That was an unrequited love. Like, she was interested in him for his stoicism and his unemotionalness, like, probably. And she wanted to have a relationship with him, and he was not interested or did have feelings and didn't want to give into his human side. So was very sternly against them. Now that we've got Strange New Worlds, we're getting a different take on that. It makes actually TOS look better as a result because of the history that they have. Yeah, because it would explain Spock's kind of reticence in TOS, the fact that Chapel just ditched him. So he's harboring these feelings of rejection. And now that he's more Vulcan in his, the way he deals with things, her wanting to say she's sorry by trying to get back into his life, it makes TOS more interesting as a result of Strange New Worlds. That's one thing that Strange New Worlds I think is doing very well, is establishing or has established that relationship and why TOS is the way it is. But just TOS, it's very much like she's into Spock and he doesn't even notice her, or like I said, maybe has feelings for her but doesn't want to give in to his human side because he's trying to be more Vulcan. I don't know. That's my take on it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only times we saw them in that scenario was when they were being affected by something alien-y. Did we ever have scenes where she was lusting after him and not under the influence of something?
Oh, yeah.
Because that would...
Yeah, the one that throws me... The episode that throws me off is the Roger Corby episode where they, find out that she was in this relationship, fiance with Roger Corby. No Spock stuff in that one at all, and it's so weirdly sprinkled throughout TOS. It's like it's not really even a plot point, honestly. At most points, right? So
yeah, I wouldn't associate them as a duo personally, but that is just me. But then again, you can also fancy your co-workers, right? She thinks he's hot, whatever, and there's so much of a shifting of who does what, does where, what, when in TOS that I always made a joke to you. I used to years ago. There's like 7 hardest materials ever made in TOS because they keep inventing new ones. It's like, but
poor tritinium breaks like an eggshell, and then
really?
Next week it's something different.
3 weeks we keep inventing new amazing materials. Amazing, groundbreaking every week. Yeah,
hardest substance known to man.
And it's sad because obviously we get Strange Worlds, which is actually a love fest. Ton of love subplots. It's teen drama, but done quite well. And she's the less nice one in the relationship. I mean, Spock's an innocent little boy, right? That's kind of how they play him to a certain extent. And Chapel certainly abuses him in the last episode. Not literally abused, but mistreats his emotions in the last one. And to Blade to Pring, I'm still going to be hashtag to Pring because they were great. And she gave up. She's actively giving up and damaging her standing in all society that matters to her to be with him because she actually genuinely quite likes him in several ways, physically, emotionally, and intent to have a future with. And that is just...
Which is another thing Strange New Worlds is doing very well, adding that layer to that relationship. Because I didn't give a shit about T'Pring from a mock time. No one did, I don't think. But now, knowing what happened, and that she was actually, dating someone in Starfleet who's half human, that's a little bit of a, but she was into him enough to want to keep doing that was interesting. And I think, again, Strange New Worlds is adding more layers to that, and I think this is doing a fantastic job. So, yes, I'm team T'Pring all the way. Before, if you had mentioned T'Pring, I would have been like, bitch. No, not interested, don't care.
Yeah,
but now it makes a lot more sense.
Pisses me right off. Yeah, but then, in a vein that we would not have seen coming, they managed to make a rather successful alternate Kirk and La'an one episode romance that felt oddly good, shocking, and in pandemic, shot with extremely tight focus to stop seeing extras with masks on. Wow, clever, shockingly good. With all the caveats, he's not really Kirk, and he has different life experiences from his birth, so he's not the same man, because it doesn't matter how much nature you have, if you have 100% different nurture, you're not the same person, right? Like, just hobbies would be different in a different planet, different scarcity society, etc. So she would not be able to fall in love with real Kirk, but just because she could with other Kirk, right? They do not equate, but the fact that those two found each other, yeah, sweet and charming.
Yeah, and that was well done in one episode. Like, that was a well-established,
Shocking,
well done,
Stu,
well laid out. Yes, it was. Especially after learning that he knows how to make Plumix soup in a toilet. So, I mean, hey, if you include that in a good romance in the same episode, they're doing something right. That's all I'm saying.
And he can drive.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah. Okay, we're 4 likes away from 50 likes. I want to get 4 more likes, get to 50. Keep the super chats coming. We love your suggestions. Anything that we haven't touched base on that you want us to talk about, let us know, guys.
Yeah.
It supports the channel and it shows your love for us. And today is Valentine's Day, so we want to be loved.
I mean, yeah.
By you. Yeah. And only you. Boop, boop, be doop.
Now, question then. In what universe...
I've awaited your question since your sun burned bright in the... No, sorry.
42.
Go ahead.
In what universe, and how do you think it'll work? Kim and Seven. Because they leaned into it for about 20 minutes.
Oh, Chakotay and Seven?
Kim and Seven. Because they had about 3 episodes of like...
I thought you said him and Seven, and I'm like, who? And then 20 minutes... Oh, yeah, that's definitely Chakotay.
Because the actors have a little something. It's mostly intellectual based. It was when she was being weird, so therefore anything kind of goes. But could you have seen them do something? Would that have ever worked organically? Your thoughts? Because that was an avenue they definitely dipped their toe into, and she even said, to have sex with me, and he's like,
That was very much the MILF kind of thing going on. This experienced woman, but not experienced, but older, that like was very confident with a young guy who's like shy and kind of innocent, and that's the kind of vibe they were going for there. I don't know if it would have worked. It was fun to see. Like, I wish they would have done a little more with it, honestly. I don't think it would have worked in the end though. Because it would have them each taking advantage of the other person in a way, because she would be using her sexuality, which she doesn't think she has necessarily, to influence this young man, and he would be taking advantage of her not knowing what it's like, what you should be interacting as co-workers. It would have been weird. It would have been a very weird relationship, because it would have been 2 people taking advantage of each other and not necessarily realizing they're doing it. How it could have played out, I don't know.
So that would have been also the Doctor and Seven.
Yes, to a certain degree, yes. Yeah, I would say so. A little bit different dynamic, but
all the things you said would surely apply roughly.
Yes.
Now, of course, Chakotay is different because she's now 7 years in, because that was like the last 4 episodes, right? She's as an adult as she could possibly be at that point. And he was lonely, I guess.
But there's a story amongst his people that relates to that somehow, I'm sure.
The Borg. Gotta love Borg.
Yeah.
Well then, I mean, we had a long discussion about Beverly and Picard. There is, in a similar but not identical vibe, a Chakotay and Janeway vibe. It's a something. It's less tangible because they haven't actually had a back history, but it is absolutely sort of that salt sprinkle. What do you think? Tell me about it.
Especially in the one episode where they're stranded on the planet and they get very close to each other. He builds her a tub. It's like, yes,
he puts cameras in the tub. He watches the screw tapes from the tub. Tub's very important, Stuart.
Well, that was a episode that I wish that would have a relationship would have came out of that. But then, of course, when they get back on the ship, they have to maintain that captain first officer vibe, and it just went away. And it's almost like I think they referenced it a few times after that, but it's very quickly kind of forgotten about. As with a lot of things on Voyager, unfortunately, it's a week-to-week show. Yeah, Neelix, you died and didn't see an afterlife, and you're devastated. But next week you're fine, right? All right, cool. Let's move on. Unfortunately, Voyager suffers from that. But you're right. There is kind of a tension for a while, which comes to a head with that episode, and then very quickly fizzles, which I thought was sad. I wish there would have been, because then they maintained very much a very good team front for the crew.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what you should do in that situation. But at the same time, 70 years to get home, I don't know how I would respond in that situation.
Holidays.
I'd probably, well, yeah.
And that's how you respond, right? That's all you can do. You can do an Irishman.
I mean, you know me, I would use the hell out of the holodecks. But
you build your private one
regardless,
quarters.
Yeah, I'd get one installed for sure.
Oh, well, I know what Burnham does. Because it's such a fascinating one where I wouldn't think they would have thought that in the premise of of Janeway and Chakotay, but there's something
I would have.
Oh, you would have?
I would have thought they'd do that. It's the sexual tension. It works for shows. You watch shows like Bones.
But Star Trek doesn't do that normally, so you wouldn't have...
I know, but I think in that situation it would have been very interesting to have done that. Two people in command of an entire crew that have feelings for each other. It would have been interesting.
Well, that's what I mean.
Like I was saying, shows like Bones and Castle, where their co-workers who work very closely together have the sexual tension for a long time, and it's a will they, won't they.
Although
then eventually they get together, and it kind of is like a great, satisfying, payoff.
Although in those two shows in particular, there's sexual. They probably will from episode 1. That's the implied. We're starting this romance plot in season 1. They either will get together a la friends or won't a la something else, right? That's from day 1. Whereas in Voyager, everyone's kind of starting where they start. There isn't these two leads are probably gonna it's more ensemble, right, than that. Whereas those two shows, it's very like these two and these two. Probably, maybe, yes.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean. But it's just psychologically, the two people in charge who need to be, because, there would be more conversations had than what we saw. My ship was 30 people and we were terrorists, sort of. Your ship was 140, Starfleet. You be second in command. Okay. Like, there was some semblance of, well, we were both captains, 2 hours ago. There were equals ish a few seconds ago, right? So you could argue very much they both have that alpha vibe, as it were, that then you play into that more because they both have that. Although I don't know if Maquis would have the same vibe. We can't date our crew. They both wouldn't have that innate feeling of they're my crew because they weren't my crew either. You could see that being like a initial oops spark, and even some they didn't go the antagonism route, but this sense of we can butt heads against orders we don't agree with, and then that classic moment in all film where you're yelling and suddenly you just come at each other and make out because the chemistry is just so alive. Like that could have been how they could have played that really easily.
Yeah, it has a Brady Bunch vibe. Two families coming together, and both heads of the families taking care of everybody underneath them. It has that kind of vibe of like a step parent kind of vibe for the crew. That would have worked, I think, if they had explored that from the beginning with their relationship and have it tension, and at the end Chakotay and her hook up. I think that would have been fantastic, actually. Much better than Chakotay randomly getting a 7 for some reason, and Janeway not even having a relationship. She was Mark was his name, I don't know, they had a dog, and that was kind of lamented for a while, and then kind of accepted that it was over because then Mark's like, I've moved on, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's good, at least she has an answer now. I feel bad for her, but and the Chakotay 7 thing, that was just a last minute. We need to put you two together just because it's interesting.
It had the exact stench, quote unquote, stench of Troi and Worf. It's like you start. You start 100%. The season finale of TNG with them on a date.
What?
Hi guys. I mean, obviously that was specifically to bring the future plot with her dying. That in that sense, they use it for a plot reason. But from just watching it first, I'm like, huh? So certainly Endgame. And in fairness, you know, you could argue, actually, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't? I guess you would have been stealing off yourself. But if they had used any future Chakotay and had maybe he sacrificed himself, maybe there's a second ship, maybe so obviously in Endgame, you've got future Janeway, Admiral Janeway, I should say, stealing the Klingon device. Kim comes in, but maybe Chakotay's also there in a small ship and sacrifice himself to let her escape the first time. Says do it for 7, you know, like that would make thematic sense to go along with Endgame's version. Although I wouldn't necessarily want to see, you know, Chakotay down the last episode. At least that version, that wouldn't have been great, but you know, hey ho.
Yeah. No, I personally would have loved that sexual tension between Chakotay and Janeway for the entire show run, and have it be paid off if they actually do get together. I think that would have been. I would have preferred that, honestly.
Because there's such an ease of friendship between those two.
Yes.
It was very, you know, and probably more so than Beverly and Picard, because Picard was always extremely restrained. Janeway kind of wasn't. Mostly she was never going to date anybody. That was never what she was giving off. But she was more happy to be friendly with people because she realised, if I ain't someone you can come to and talk to, we're all going to die. This needs to be a family. Picard's like...
Are you in the hallway? Go talk to the first officer. He'll relay your
I'm
message.
busy, talk to... Yeah, exactly. So therefore, obviously, the chemistry are going to get more with Chakotay and her. And Chakotay came from a Maquis background, far more informal. I mean, see the leather they're wearing? Goodness.
Yeah. I would have preferred that there was something going on between Chakotay. Like I said, that episode where they're stranded on the planet, I love that episode.
It's shockingly deep.
Yeah, and I was happy that they were getting together, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the ship's back. And yeah, that's tragic. I mean, that's the point of it, that we can't now continue this. But I wish that they would have, even trying to like hide it from the crew, and have moments where like one's in a dangerous situation and the other's contemplating, do I put the ship at risk to save them, or do I just like...
The problem with that though is that can only be done once or twice.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And then you've done the joke, as it were, without addressing it, and then you got to do an entire arc or just ignore it. So it
would have made for way more dramatic storytelling if they were a couple, and let's say you start the episode off with them fighting about something in their quarters, about like decorating or something. So there's a tension between the two of them. They're mad at each other, and then it boils over onto the bridge where they have to make a life-changing or life-threatening
that might have felt too soap opera-y.
Too Brady Bunchy.
Yeah, I think that doesn't. The more you were saying it, the less Star Trek that felt.
Oh, for sure. But they didn't have to lay it on thick like that. I'm just saying, just as a dramatic example to get my point across. You could interweave that better and more Star Trek-y, but it just would have. I don't know. I would have enjoyed this. I would have liked to see that, honestly. So
you would love to have seen Janeway and Chakotay go at it. I get it.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Hashtag YOLO.
We hit 50 likes, so thank you guys. If you haven't hit like yet, hit it though right now. Why not? And super chat in. Any couples that you'd like us to talk about? I think we've had very good discussions, and I'm really enjoying this today. So let us know if there's anything we've missed.
Yeah, it's nice to talk about the Pantheon.
Yeah.
There's a good amount of Pantheon.
And Ray Ricks throws in £5 and says, Stargate walked that line well with O'Neill and Carter. That was well written. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was also in the, like, You could be stranded on any planet at any time for any particular reason with these people. Rest of your life there, would you have a relationship with them? But yet they also serve together and work together, so it's a fine line, right?
Well, and they were yeah, and that was also born from you know, chemistry of actors and you know, they had so many years together, and unlike Star Trek, they were all fully fleshed out characters. You know, you can't compare a Jackson to a Kim. Even Hammond,
No, Voyager's
even Hammond to Kim, right? Like, he feels more fleshed out than bloody Kim. So everyone kind of felt
especially
their own thing.
Especially talking about Voyager. Voyager had a lot of missed opportunities for fleshing out the crew, in my opinion. I think TNG did it a little bit better.
But some damn good stories, though.
I
always say, Voyager had better sci-fi, just had better character work.
Absolutely. How would you compare DS9's Voyager, or sorry, DS9's character development to Stargate? Pretty much on par with each other, in my opinion.
Well, it's different. Stargate is a direction moving forward as the people grow up and evolve, because everyone starts off in a similar. We came together to this base, which is somewhat Star Trek, a little different, but everyone's DS9 either stayed very same, as in Quark, and they made radical shifts like Rom, because he was somewhere and he shifted, and shifted again. They did a lot more radical changes with them that were not foreshadowed, versus Stargate, where it was a really beautiful, organic, just going with the winds of the actors, the characters, the story. So it feels just like a stream of life. DS9 does not. This happened, but also you can have a giant war. Stargate, you know, took 8 years to have one ship, right? The scale is different. I think certainly they feel more like humans, but they're written like humans. Like, Odo's not a human, Quark's not a human, Bashir's not a human. Like, they're written like their characters. I mean, better in terms of relatability, but then obviously don't throw them as much turmoil, because of course you're not putting them as radical situations. But then you get a lot of really nice, subtle character stuff that DS9 did, but I can't think of it because the big stuff's too big. Like, there isn't a Nog's lost his leg episode for Stargate, but there's beautiful, you know, I've lost my identity I used to have a symbiote in me, now I'm using a Tritonan, and dealing with that, and just really, really nice character stuff that's more subtle and more, I don't know, different, right? Different. Yeah. Probably Star Trek's more soap opera-y, because the bigger cast and everyone's got intertwined stories. Stargate's more people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question.
Martin makes a good point. Not all character development needs to be foreshadowed. A sudden galaxy threatening war can change people quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Indeed. Vina and Pike. That's just sad. Huh. But she was cute. She was cute in the in Stranger Worlds.
Yeah.
But Rom and Lita, I mentioned earlier, nice couple, sort of opposites attract. Like
kind of a Peter Griffin and Lois Griffin scenario. The attractive woman with the kind of questionable looking gentleman. It's like me and Sylvia, you know, attractive woman with like.
Because like,
and definitely Marie with you. Like, what the hell? Anyway.
Oh, no, because it's like, I don't remember how they started. Because it's just sort of there. Did Ron fancy her when she was dating Julian? Was there that?
No, it was pretty quick that they just kind of shoehorned it in, but it felt very natural with the way they did it. It was very quick to like, I'm with Rom now.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
I remember
but
that.
It felt like it worked.
Well, it was because they had an idea, they went with it, I guess. But because I think they're both so innocent, even though they're both very uninnocent, in that Rom is also a
Yeah.
cheating Ferengi when he wants to be, and Dita's also a bit of a hoe when she wants to be. Darbo girl, right? It's part of the job, showgirl. But they're both also very innocent in their real life. It's like, you scroll Instagram videos, whatever, Facebook videos, and there's a great scene in Million Ways to Die in the West, which I've only seen once, but it's a great film, where there's the guy and his girlfriend. The girlfriend's a prostitute, and he waits for her down below while she's just doing her job, and then her energy coming out is like, oh, hey, hub, hey, babe. And it's so cute, like, it's so genuine, and yet she's just done that.
And they don't have sex together until they're married.
Yeah, like, they both have this innocent chemistry, and yet she's literally just gone and done a day's job.
Yeah.
Like, that chemistry is kind of what I mean. Like, it just works, but it's very specific. But I believe it, and it's nice, for sure. And they're just good as a double act. Just the two actors, just like, you could buy them as siblings. Like, it didn't need to be, like, hard romance, like, big love subplot, but it just works, right?
Jamie brought one up that I was thinking about earlier, Kirk and Edith Keeler. My thoughts on I don't like that. I don't mind the episode. It's just not as good as everybody says it is. I don't care about Kirk and Edith Keeler. I never get a sense that it's a tragic loss. She was meant to die. It has to happen. Let it happen. Big deal. Whoop-de-doo. It to me, it's not a love story. Honestly, I don't know. What are your thoughts on Edith Keeler and Kirk? Because I don't really care. Honestly, it doesn't impact me. I don't. It doesn't feel impactful to me. There's not enough time with them.
So it's nice, in a sense that in a world of complication, Starfleet captain, yes, it's a bit more loose in that era, but all responsibility of people under your belt. You're having to make life decisions. You're in a cold war with the Klingons sometimes. You're dealing with big aliens that can kill you. You've had many threats in your life that you've got through somehow because of plot armor. And you go back in time and you meet this very sweet simpleton in the abstract. She's a lady living in a house who lives near her work, who goes to work and helps people every day, and then that's it. That's her entire life. But it's so meaningful and yet so wonderfully one-dimensional, right? That's it. And so he can just be a one-dimensional man with her, without anything else on top of that. In an era where he can just be himself, and just like, on to some extent, like how cute he is with Star Trek 4 lady, like in the restaurant. Like, he just be kind of have fun with it. Like, he's just being himself. That was a bit more, I need something from you, but you can see the vibe there. So it's super him being him and her being her. Then they're connected physically, chemistry-wise, and then so it's very unique. Do you know what I mean? Am I explaining it well?
Yes, 100%. But before we finish, Chuck A is here, and he says, "Hi, Sir and Samuel. I'm having a heart procedure tomorrow. Came in now to say hello. It may be a few days till I get back in the chats. You both take care." Yes, take care of yourself. We want to see you back. So all the best. Hopefully everything goes well. Thank you for stopping by and letting us know. We appreciate that. And we're looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. So make sure it goes well.
Everybody wish Chuck good luck in the chat. Please do.
Yes.
Please do. Let's spam it with a good luck. But yeah, I mean, have I helped your vibe of Edith Keeler with that comparison, that summary? Do you think? Has that made it any better for you?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's kind of the vibe that I get from them is exactly what you said. Like, it feels natural. It feels like something that could happen in a real world scenario. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the relationships don't. A lot of them feel forced.
Yes.
Especially if it's a single episode relationship, because obviously you got to rush through that. Edith Keeler, in my mind, is that,
But
I don't know what I'm saying.
But is the sort of chemistry that if she was to go into the future,
yes,
it wouldn't work, because she would be so excited by the universe, she'd want to go and explore and say, "I'm sorry, Jim, I can't."
Like Jillian from Star Trek 4.
Yeah, exactly. I can't be stuck with you on a ship because the universe is now here and I need to help people. And he would say, I can't be tied down to this person who doesn't even know what anything my vocabulary is. There, where none of that matters, I can be simple. Here, I've got to be captain. You have so much learning to do, because she's not a biologist from 3 who has or 4 who has a lot of skill, like knowledge. Keeler does not. She's just a lady who's nice. In a good way. The simplicity of it is what's beautiful. So they wouldn't work any other time and place. Which is why it's tragic, because if he stayed there, they would have absolutely been together. They would have been lovely. Really lovely. Like, there's even a vibe that even if... Because, I mean, the universe just died around him. Like, there's no future. He got erased. So he's, he's fine for the universe, but it's already gone in a sense. So, it is what it is in a small sense. But I can even see him being happy and having kids and having a life there, and not even wishing he was back in the stars, because it just kind of works here. Somewhat like Anise and Picard, stay in this moment vibe. Like, something about this works in this moment.
Yes, but it almost feels like it makes Kirk look like a bit of an asshole, because he's hedging his bets. If he gets stuck in the past, hey, I'll have somebody to be with. I saved your life. So it's tragic in that regard. Like, if she did still get hit by a truck and his universe didn't return, then oh my god.
I don't know if he's thinking that though actively.
I know that, and I know that for a fact. It's just, I'm just saying. It's what it kind of feels like at times to me, and then I have to check myself. So, I don't know.
But I think we're in a final super chat slot thing. I think we need a final rush. A couple would be tremendous. It's been a lot of fun. A couple more 5s would be super.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
I think we've had a great conversation. I've really enjoyed this, and hopefully you guys have as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any that we're missing that you guys really want to explore more, let us know, because we can wrap it up with that. Even some odd ones if you want.
I mean, I guess it's fair to go through. Well, missing in the thumbnails, Kayla as a final one without any super chats. Want to throw us in? The Worf. Marry me because honor. No. Oh. Yeah, but he fancied her, right? Is a woman that was a match for him, that could tame him, but he couldn't tame her, and yet he did. Mary Alexander, she died. Really quite upsetting, because she was finding her niche with him, the vibes that she could have, and it was upsetting.
It's also upsetting though that she didn't tell him that they had a kid, that she was pregnant. She just shows up and go, by the way, here's your kid. That's always a douchey move, I gotta say.
Yeah, seriously. She's very much that loner vibe, very much because she's very human-y in the Klingon-y, as a dad human? Because Worf's full human, though, lives with humans, full Klingon, but she's actually half, I believe.
I can't remember. I just know she doesn't really think much of Klingon culture.
Yeah, she's grown up on not Klingon, Kronos. So she's very much her own person, and I don't think wanted to linger on something. Yes, but it's like you had a kid, you're lingering on this connection. Like that by definition is there to linger. Only took until she had to until she got to experience it.
And Hypno, remember we kind of talked about Paris and B'Elanna a little while ago.
Great.
That was a great relationship.
Really nice. It was organic.
I was just going to say it felt organic, yeah.
And it wasn't overbearing. It was shockingly good.
They had fights. They didn't get along all the time.
Yeah,
very good representation of a true relationship.
I don't remember exactly the impetus, but yeah, when they finally get when they finally that shuttle and it blows up and they have to beam out and they got 4 minutes of oxygen left and they express their final feelings, it was so damn satisfying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because they were going to die that they did it, because normally that's the convention. Literally it's that, but they didn't have to. They could have. B'Elanna could have kept it until she died. She's that sort of person. She doesn't. That's her choosing to express it, not being forced to because of death. And it's very hard to pitch that, 'cause very little direction needed to be different, but it was so sincere. And they kiss in their spaces. It's just a very nice scene. And then obviously you get the whole thing with morale and the whole, can we undo her Klingon facial stuff? Again, super deep stuff that's very interesting.
And kind of a couple you wouldn't have seen getting together at the beginning of the show for sure. So, yeah.
No, indeed.
Ray Ricks, 5 pounds. Egg and peanut hamper. Best love story since Twilight. Sure. Ray Ricks throws in another 2 pounds. This is also speaking of Kalar. Q and female Q was fun. Absolutely. Yeah. Very antagonistic with each other. And the jealousy of basically, yeah, the female Q. I wasn't talking about the dog. Yeah.
I mean, that was just two actors having fun, right? Just
was
pure
absolutely.
chemistry fun. But yeah, nice to see a god romance. It's unusual, to say the least.
Yeah.
And all 2 seconds of sex.
And the Scottish Nightmare says, "I know the worst. Spock and Chapel."
Ouch.
It's not the worst. It's actually very well done in Strange New Worlds, and it makes TOS better as a result. I think that's one thing Strange New Worlds is getting very well. Is doing very well. So, yeah, Kalar was half human. Her father was a Klingon. Her mother was a human. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, Stamets and Hugh.
Okay. Yeah, that's a weird one, honestly, just because you wouldn't think that Stamets would be able to get with anybody because he's such an asshole, but Hugh kind of tempers him a little bit. I kind of like that because that's how a lot of relationships are. It's surprising what the right person will do to somebody who's got kind of an attitude. So no, I think it's played out well. I don't know if it's explored as well as it could be or presented as well as it should be. But yeah. What are your thoughts on that one? I mean, Hugh died at one point, and that was
a slight issue.
Pretty, yeah. But he's back now, so that's fine.
It's tricky because they were so pleased to have it, and then killed him.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of just mega background. And not in the way. It's different with 24 episodes and 7 seasons, right? Like B'Elanna and Tom might only have like 6 episodes focused on them as a relationship, but they're there. Hugh and Culber, there are moments of them togethering, but after season 1, I don't think of them as a couple particularly. Because season 1, they're very a couple to prove that they are, so that when they kill, it's meaningful. But then after that, I'm like, yeah, I guess they're still together. I don't think of them as a couple. It doesn't. They're both individual people in the story that don't really cross.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, thank you for vocalizing kind of what I was like. That's a strange one because they focus on it till they don't, and then you'd never think about it really.
It doesn't add much. And I mean, neither does. They're against so few episodes, and it's so story focused that, of course, they don't have much time to spend. And I would have absolutely liked if they'd spent less time on him being a shrink to everybody and more time with it was their time to choose, and they chose not to focus on those two as a couple. They certainly have some nice scenes, plenty of nice scenes, nice moments, but they're few and far between, and I would not have thought of them just because, maybe I will have more in season 5.
5, yes.
5, yes.
We're going into season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgonzola, Keiko, and Miles. Did we talk about them already? We kind of touched on them a few times, but that's a true representation of a wife, like a wife and husband relationship. I think
average marriage,
because we see them quite often mad at each other, or, I mean, I think they do a fine enough job with it. I love that O'Brien would rather spend time with Bashir than his wife a lot of the time, and I can't say as I blame him, but you guys know I don't like Keiko, so it's fine.
Well, yeah, it's just, I mean, they Bashir is specifically meant to be the grease monkey, the lower class in a non-mean way. I love Colm Meaney a lot. and therefore they have just a bog standard ultra relatable marriage. And it works that way. It's both unremarkable but also remarkable in that way. But the fact is, it came from a different TV show. They got married in TNG, and they were already like 3-year-old hats already.
Yeah.
So they're the only. So they came and married with a kid. They left married with 3 kids, I believe. 2 kids, 3 kids, 2. Molly and Keiko, 2. But it's part of the tapestry of the story, right? And you don't think of it because it's just always there. It's a weird one in that way. It's a building block of the narrative, while not being mega important, which is very interesting. I like Keiko. Like, as a general, I like her. You know, Sagawa. Like, I like their general vibe. I wish we saw them both more. In their own right, I mean, not necessarily in the scenes we saw them, just like in their own.
Yeah. And Gorgonzola makes a good point. Do we consider Tiana and Shax to only be friends with benefits, not a romance? We never see the romantic side of them. It's always like, let's go bang in the holodeck. So it feels very lust driven, their relationship. We don't actually get a sense of the romance there, if there is any. So, you know, will they explore that? I don't know, possibly. But anyhow, yeah. So thank you for the super chats and the last couple super chats. Really appreciate that.
Means a lot.
Hit the like button if you haven't already. I'm going to end this poll right now, real quick. 74 votes. Who is your favorite couple? Picard and Lwaxana win with 38%. Coming in at second place is Ensign Kim and the Delaney sisters. Beverly and the Lantern Ghost at 22%, and the last is Q and Bosch.
I'm so excited for the episode because I've only seen clips of it. As more people talk about
it. Yeah. It's funny. The only true the one that came in last was the only real true romance that ever was a romance. Q and Bosch with 12%, because they actually did have a thing for a little while. So. Anyway,
thank
you, November. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Nating.
Yeah. All right.
I'll ask you final second. Now, after our 2 hours discussion, who would you now go with as being the one that you might go to your brain in?
Kirk in the Enterprise. No. Oh no, no. Honestly, I would say Riker and Troi.
Yeah, I'd go. I think for B'Elanna and Paris. Just organic, well played, working love romance that worked shockingly well. Having now discussed it all, I think just on overall, because you get the flair of Paris' personality, you get the interestingness of B'Elanna's cultural stuff. So you get a good mix of things. The more because what is Riker, right? He's a guy. Paris has more character quirks than Riker has, and Troy's less of a character arc than B'Elanna. So they're more people. They're a good duo, right? Troi and Riker. They're a team, but the other two are good independent and a good team. So that's why I say them. Cool.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm sure we'll have a live tomorrow.
Yes.
So come back and hang out with us, and I'll have a live tonight. I think I'll probably do a live tonight. On the Captain Foley personal channel, so go check it out.
Please do.
So until next time, he is Commander Cockings.
He's got a Foley.
And we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.